Hi there, it's Tiffany from Daisy Farm Crafts, and today's tutorial is going to be our Woodland Heather blanket. This is a blanket that Hannah designed, and she used the herringbone stitch. So I'm going to show you how to get that herringbone stitch going so you can do this blanket. So Woodland Heather, we just based it on the color of yarn that we used. It is Caron Simply Soft. It's this super nice, sagey green color that's not too dark. It was really beautiful when it was finished. I loved that she used that. And she used some white, and then she used black, all with Caron Simply Soft. And the hook that she used is just an H8 5mm. This is my Susan Bates Comfort Grip hook that I buy at Joann's or whatever I pick up. So I feel like today's blanket is really pretty beginner friendly. So if you are a beginner, I kind of want to just, remind you that how to make a little slip knot to start your chains. And we're going to chain 15 fairly loosely onto this hook. And if you are struggling with tension and you just can't get these chains kind of loose, feel free to go up a hook size to like an I, and that sometimes will help. But we want this base chain row to be fairly loose. Okay, and I'm just going to work 15 on here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oops, I did 17. Well, that's fine. Let's stay with 17. That's no big deal. Okay, so a herringbone stitch has you start, we start in the third chain from the hook. So you don't count this loop that's around the hook. Start counting in the first chain would be this one, second, third. We're going to go ahead and start underneath that top loop and yarn over and pull up a loop. Now you're going to kind of pinch here at the bottom so that you can continue pulling that through the first loop. Then yarn over and pull through the first, one more, just one loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, that's the basic herringbone stitch, not the herringbone half, the full herringbone stitch. I'm yarning over. Let's work into the next chain. Just underneath the top loop is fine. And yarn over and pull up a loop and continue pulling through the next loop on your hook. Then yarn over and pull through 1 loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2. So it's kind of your building height, kind of, I guess is the only thing I would say. I think the most important thing is for you to make sure that you continue pulling through the next loop. That's what kind of creates this little, stitch that gets closer down to the chain. And it kind of slants off to the side. It's really nice. Okay, so have you practice that. I want to get down to the end of this first row because we're going to turn this blanket. And I want to make sure you understand how to do that so that you're not adding or skipping stitches at the end of the row. So let's get going. How's it going? Underneath 1, yarn over. I feel like I have to kind of pinch it sometimes in order to get that, get through the first loop without, yarning over and pulling it up, and then just work through 1 and then work through 2. So sometimes when I'm first learning, I'm like, okay, through, then work 1, then work 2. Maybe that'll help you. Get through that first one. Oh, a little splitty. Here we are. We're almost to the end of the row. And the last stitch, just work right into that last chain Here we go. Now let's take a minute and stop and see how many stitches, because on this row, this is going to be, we're not going to count on this row. We're not going to count those 2 chains that we skipped as a turning chain or anything. We're just going to start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Perfect. And we started with 17 chains. Okay, so now our goal is going to be 15 stitches for every row. And that'll help you learn to keep your blanket straight. So this first stitch is, these first 2 chains that I changed and I turned are going to count as the first stitch. So count from your hook, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to work underneath this 4th spot, because that chain 2 is going to count as a stitch. And we're going to work that same thing. Do that herringbone all across the row. Okay, I'm going to continue working this, and then I'll be right back on and I'll show you how to turn again. We'll do a couple more rows together and make sure you're getting all your stitches. All right, how'd you do? I'm about to work into that very last stitch, and I'm ignoring those chain 2s for this row, because this is that base row. But I want to go back and I want you to count, because these first 2 chains that we did, these will count. Going forward, now the chain 2s will count. That's just one thing that's different than the base row. Now always turn your work like a page in the book is how I was taught. And again, let's get one more row under our belt. So we're going to start in the 4th chain from the hook and work across the row. But this time, our last stitch will be in the top of that turning chain to make it be the 15th stitch, because we counted it as our first stitch. So that might be the trickiest thing about this blanket, and for a beginner, to really keep your sides straight. I think that is honestly what messes me up the most too, is that there's so many people, there are so many different ways to end your row and start your row. You know, sometimes the stitch does count, the turning chains count as a stitch, sometimes they don't count as stitches. So it just depends on the pattern that you're working. So I'm trying to speed along to get to this end of the row so that I can really show you. But how are you doing getting that stitch there? Okay, here we are to the last, and if you're unsure, go back. You should have 14, counting the first chain 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yes, that tells me I've got one more to work. And the turning chain, you know, it kind of slants in towards you, but you need to try really hard to just poke your hook underneath at least one of the loops. And this is where try to keep your work as loose, you know, keep it loose. Try not to get that to pull too tight on you, and then you'll be fine. Chain 2 and turn. And I'm pretty sure that's how you're going to keep your rows straight. So in the blanket, Hannah chained 95, and you do not, any number is fine. So you can make this as wide as you want, chain it to the length of the blanket that you think you'd need. Now I'm going to actually undo this, because I'm going to pretend that we are changing colors in this row, just so I can show you how to change colors. So you'll yarn over, insert your hook underneath that turning chain loop, start your stitch. So I yarned over and I pulled through just like we were going to do. And I'm going to pull through one, but now is where I'm going to stop. And I'm going to change color on the last step of the stitch. I'm just going to add some white in. And all you simply do is just lay that color right over your hook and pull it through. That's all it is. Then you'll have, and leave a fairly long tail that you can weave in later. Now I'll continue on chaining 2 and pull this down, fix the tension there. And here we go. Same thing. That first chain 2 will count as my first stitch, so I will begin working into the 4th stitch from the hook. I think you've got it. So good luck. I hope the sides of your blanket stay straight. That's probably the trickiest thing. Count your rows, and then of course the pattern is on our website, daisyfarmcrafts.com. It's called the Woodland Heather blanket, and it's beautiful. And we'll put a link here on YouTube in the descriptions so that you can easily just there's a tiny little arrow, click that, and then I think all the comment or the descriptions for this post will pop up and you can find all of the links. Okay, thank you so much for coming by. We'll see you soon.